So I got done reading all that was filed. It's a very long read, but I finally finished. And my conclusion is it is very ironic that H3Snark mods, they are most afraid of what they actually did to Ethan and Hilla. So I'm going to just say it. I feel really bad for those two. I'm not, I've not experienced anything to the abuse that they have, and I would call it abuse. I do think a lot of what I'm glad they got the ability to respond publicly. Of course, they have a public platform, but this is a legal response, and keep that in mind. And it will be in court documents and will be published and is easily accessible to anyone who wants to read it. So, my main takeaway is H3Snark on one hand, and I'm going to show you their complaints. On one hand, very concerned about their own privacy, how it will affect their lives if their names are made public, but they have little to no concern over how they have adversely affected Ethan, Klein, and Hilla's life, which, again, they go into details of how this has actually affected their family. And the family part is really important, but I'm just going to read you this again. And I read it this morning. I think it comes down to the conclusion. You can have hundreds of pages, but at the end of the day, it comes down to the conclusion. And it was Ethan and Hilla's conclusion that I was drawn to immediately, having not read the lawyer's declaration, Rom's declaration, or their declaration yet. And it is scary. Their employees, one of them were falsely reported to ICE. They've lost many relationships, both personal and professional, due to false assertions they have spread about us. Our free children have suffered as well, and not just from the DCFS investigation. So remember, this is a family, and what pains me, after reading it all, what kind of stuck with me is what I made a video about in the morning. As soon as I saw that, I was like, you know what? That's the stuff that sticks with you, is that they can't take their kids on play dates. That's crazy, right? And that they lost relationships, personal and private. We're no longer comfortable taking them on play dates as our presence would threaten the safety of innocent children and their parents. The H3Snark mod's imaginary fears are our daily reality. Yeah, it is exactly this. Their fears of being doxxed or their personal information coming out is exactly their reality, right? What they're fearing is, oh, coworkers won't like me, personal and family relationships might break, business relationship, I might not get hired again. Now, the second part, which I'm not Jewish, so I don't have the knowledge to explain this, but I do feel from an outsider, I'm actually Chinese, that Chinese American, of course, that yeah, I do think they're being targeted because they're Jewish. So I went to NYU. NYU is, you will make a lot of amazing Jewish friends at NYU if you go. I recommend going. It's one of the best experiences I've ever had in my life in college. And I do think it is partially, I don't know what percentage of the abuse is because they are Jewish. And I don't want to get into this dialogue because this is not, because I don't really have anything smart to add to the dialogue other than as a observant. I do think H3Snark has shown that they are, some of them, I mean, again, how many moderators are there actually? There's always the question of how many of these people are there and how many accounts did each of them own. I'll just say this, I don't feel comfortable going beyond saying that I do feel like they have a point about the anti-Semites. They delight in acting in bad faith since they seek not to persuade by sound argument, but to intimidate and disconcern. If you press them too closely, they will abruptly fall silent, lawfully indicating by some phrase that the time for argument is past. That's been my take on H3Snark as well. You win an argument with them, Why are you arguing? That time has passed. They paint themselves as the victims. It's very scary. The legal loops and it's very scary that they're being confronted by complete strangers claiming they advocate and participate in the genocide of Palestinians. Due to the constant threats we have received, we are both seeking concealed carry permits to defend ourselves and our children. We no longer do live events out of fear for our safety and the safety of our employees. This is life-changing stuff. This is the stuff that H3Snark mods are most afraid of impacting their lives. They've already impacted in a quite negative way Ethan and Hilla. So I don't want to make this video. I don't upload videos like this too often at night. But I'm picking up my 1-year-old daughter, and part of the reason that we go to daycare is then we can meet other parents. There's Halloween events. It's like fun events they do for parents, so you can meet other parents, go on play dates. The safety of your children is absolutely paramount, but they're the social activities. So the fact that they have Hilla, Ethan have to change how they would normally interact with other parents with children is very alarming. I think it has a lot to do with H3Snark. And if you're a parent, if you're a family, then it shouldn't affect the kids. You always want to keep the kids out of the situation. The fact that they have to consider the weapon permit for the safety of themselves and their children is also a very scary thing to think about in terms of why would you even want that item in your home with small children if not to protect yourself, right? Because from ongoing harm. The reality shift, and we're going to shift, I promise you we're going to get to the part that really matters, which is what the H3Snark mods are actually worried about. I think the response is directly, forget Denons, Frogan, Caseytron. They are not the main targets of this lawsuit. The main targets of this lawsuit is very simple. I think if Ethan and Hilla get the names of these individuals, you probably just settle. Frogan, Caseytron, Denons even. Once they have the names of these individuals, do they really need to go on? I mean, you think about it. What are these H3Snark mods so afraid of? They're so afraid of getting their names published and having what their behavior has been to Ethan and Hilla come back to bite them. That's what they're afraid of. So let's take a look at the very, very end of Jane Doe. That would be the H3Snark mods. Their actual response, and it parallels. This situation has already taken a serious toll on my mental and physical health. Sleep has become uneasy, and I find myself waking up in the middle of night with the fear that Kleins and their audience have found out who I am. Activities that once brought me joy now fill me with dread. I no longer feel safe online, and I carry an ongoing fear that my loved ones may suffer because of my association with the case. I used to take joy in connecting with others online in a variety of spaces unrelated to H3 podcasts, and I have had to permanently step away from these spaces out of fear. I've had to remove online profiles that held precious memories, and I feel that I may never again be able to participate in social media without fear of being discovered. The lawsuit has had a significant financial impact on me. I'm not a multi-millionaire at Los Angeles. So just take a look at this and see how closely it parallels to what Ethan and Hilla's declaration. So this is the Jane Doe H3Snark mod declaration. It's almost identical, right, to what Hilla and Ethan Klein are explaining. Their employees were reported ICE. One of their employees were reported ICE. They don't feel comfortable doing live events. They don't feel comfortable with strangers approaching them. They don't feel comfortable taking their kids on play dates. I'm a hardworking individual with a full-time job and a modest income. I'm not wealthy, and I have already had to use funds I've saved for personal future events to cover legal expenses. This has been emotionally devastating and has placed me under immense financial stress. I do not want to be a burden on my partner or my family. If my identity were to be revealed, I worry that I too will be harassed publicly by Ethan and Hilla and their fan base. But like, what would the solution be? The solution would just not to harass Ethan and Hilla, right? Like, when do we live in a world where actions don't have consequences? If you're afraid of the consequences of your actions, right, your name being revealed, if the only thing stopping people from reporting you to your employer, it must have been a really bad action to begin with. In the past, the Klein's detractors have frequently been featured in Ethan's Instagram stories. Ethan has also featured his friends' detractors on his Instagram stories and has gone so far as posting wedding photos of their family and friends. Like, isn't that what you guys do? Like, I don't know. Am I like misunderstanding this? Isn't that the point of H3Snark, to make sure that Ethan or anyone who supports Ethan feels like they can't support him anymore? Because then there'll be victims of H3Snark. Like, I'm like not understanding. Like it's really weird. When you take these two responses, and again, they're located in the same area. So forget the lawyer. We can cover the lawyer stuff, the legal stuff later. But just from a human perspective, the very end. So where is this located? This is located at the very end of the Jane Doe's response. Where is the Hilla and Ethan statements about their family and how they're worried about their family and their children located? Exactly the same location at the very end of their declaration. I'm extremely afraid of what could happen to my family, friends, and place of work. What? Like, isn't this like, I fear that the harassment from Klein's fan base, like, I'm not, I hope the judge can see this. Like, I mean, I think if the judge has been able to read it all, now this is another 300-ish pages to add to the 740 pages they have to read and the hours of live stream videos. It's crazy to me how you can post and you talk shit about somebody and their family and their, sending scolds and all this stuff and mental health, all is meant. But when it comes to you, you understand how this could affect your life. Oh, I might lose my job. Oh, a family member may not talk to me anymore. Oh, maybe I can't take my kids to a play date anymore, or maybe the daycare I can't take my kids to daycare because I'm going to check them out. This is stuff that I worry about as a dad as well. Right now, I'm single dadding it. My significant other is in China for the next month, so I really do worry about it. I do understand the importance of community and play dates and things of that nature. That's why I enrolled her in daycare, so we could do like, for instance, they're having like a Halloween parade. All the parents come and they can take pictures with their kids and stuff. I bought a Halloween costume for my daughter because I want her to participate in that, and it would be cool to see all the kids in their costumes, right? Because it's a community social event. The fact that Ethan and Hilla feel they can't do that or do it to the extent they want to or they normally would because of H3Snark is exactly what H3Snark is worried about. Like, it doesn't make any sense, right? Like, it's like, wait, so when you think of how this could impact you, you have a hissy fit, but you've been doing this the whole time to other people. It's like, wait, is there like a disconnect logically here? Like, is there something that I know? I hope the judge can see, and I would call it irony, but it's really something more malicious than that. I guess it's selfishness, right? It's pure and utter selfishness where you feel you can destroy someone's life, but when they try to destroy your life by just making your name public, and that's all that would need to happen in this case, I feel like all the other lawsuits are very minimal, would just go to settlement if they could get the names. You don't see, like, so if your name becomes public and your life becomes destroyed, is it because you were a really nice person? Or was it because you were caring about it, right? Like, there's a lot of Karens in news lately, and this feels like one of those scenarios where you have behaved poorly for a very long time, destroying other people's lives wantonly. Wantonly is the vocab word I'm choosing to use. And now you have to face the consequences, potential consequences of your action. You understand how it affects you, but you never considered how it affected the people you were attacking and hurting. But you understand how it affects you. Like, what would be the term that we would use for an individual like this? I think the term would be called a snarker. Anyway, we'll get to the legal stuff probably tomorrow.